Aloha, I'm Dr. Mike, and now we're going to go through the X-Scribe system. So this is the X-Scribe. This is a cardiology grade stress testing system that we have at all the campuses. And this is basically how we connect the ECGs that are put on the patient to the device. So you'll notice this is wireless, and although they're color-coded, if you look at each one, for example, this one says LA, that means left arm. And you can go through the others and they'll tell you that's V2 on where they go. Then once it's on, you simply push the button that looks like it's a timer, and that'll turn the device on, and the device is keyed specific to this X-Scribe ECG stress testing system. So you can't swap these. You'll see there's a number 1 here, and that number 1 matches here. So on the other one, you'll see a 2, etc., just to make sure that they're matched. Okay, we've got Nathan back, so you can see that we've connected up the 12-lead ECG. What's important, you'll notice in this pouch, we can't have wires hanging out to the side, because when the patient's walking, if they end up hooking the wires, they'll pull the ECG off and that'll stop the test. So we always want to make sure that the wires are out of the way of swinging from their hands. And otherwise, we can also have them put a t-shirt on over this, or you can tape over these electrodes just to ensure that they won't come off. But these are on snug, they're easy, just squeeze to put them on, and then your patient's ready to start. We're always going to start with a resting ECG to make sure there's no contraindications to doing the test, and also that all 12 leads are showing on the ECG. Lab rat. If you're a real patient, then it's the ID that we put in. So what's your date of birth? So we hit start exam. So as you can see, we've got all 12 leads showing. While you're in this mode, which is just the rest or the check mode, you'll know it's not collecting any data. So once we've confirmed, we see that he's got the 6 chest leads, which are these through here. And then we've got the bipolar leads. You just missed a PVC that he threw. It's not collecting it. So once we know the ECG is working, click the rest button. It's going to ask which test we're going to do. We're going to do a modified Bruce on Nathan, and now we're collecting data. You'll notice over here that this is basically the learning ECG. It takes 40 seconds for this section to come up, and what it is, you can pick any one of the chest leads or any lead. I prefer to get V5 or V6. And after 40 seconds, it's going to take that ECG and make it very large. And the advantage to that, it's twofold. One, you can see any ST segment changes quite easily, because look at the size of that. I'm on V5. If you wanted to see V6, you just click V6. You can see the change. I'll leave it on V5. But also, notice how it's black. Once we start the test, so you hit the exercise button, then as Nathan's progressing through the test, or your patient, it's actually going to do an overlay in a different color. So Nathan's normal, but let's just say he started doing ST segment elevation. You can see where he is at rest, but also it'll show you the changes that are occurring, and that helps you with your clinical reasoning to know to terminate the test. This is continuously running down on the bottom, and this is keeping the test. Notice the pre-exercise timer. This is when you're explaining to the patient what you're going to do on the test. You're going to measure their heart rate, their blood pressure, their ECG continuously, their oxygen saturation with a pulse oximeter, and about using the RPE scale. If they're a patient that's got respiratory disorders and you need to ask them about their breathing scale, again, you can use the RPD, which is the rating of perceived dyspnea. Same scale, 1 out of 10. Now, this device can be connected to the treadmill, and it'll automatically, based on the protocol, so we picked a modified Bruce, it'll automatically change the speed and grade. If you're not connected to the treadmill, then you control the treadmill manually. So this shows how long we're in rest, and then when you're ready, so your patient's either going to do a 6-minute walk test, you're going to put them on a treadmill or the bike. When you're ready to start the test, you just click the exercise button. Notice that the stage time and the total exercise time resets. So the patient's heart rate is displayed here. You'll notice based on his age, that's set at 85% of his age predicted max heart rate. It tells you what percent of that he's at. When the test is done, to stop the test and you're going into recovery, you just go into recovery. You'll notice that the recovery timer has started and the exercise time, he went 2 minutes and 9 seconds. He's not especially fit on Monday mornings, which is understandable. He had a big weekend. Now, when you're done, and one thing through the test, you'll notice you can use drop down for RPE, and that's on 1 to 10. And then you can put in the blood pressure. And all we'll do is enter it. He was 124/84. And save. And when you're measuring blood pressure through each stage, so you're going to do it at rest, you're going to enter a blood pressure, you're going to do it during the different stages of exercise at the end of each stage and into recovery. Once you're all done, hit the last button and it'll say confirm to exit the test. The answer is yes. When you've completed the test, we need to have a printout both for the patient, but also to send to the referring GP and/or specialist. So we click the preview button. The screen will go off and it's now generating the PDF documents. When that comes up, you can see the notes. I put in resting 12-lead ECG demo. And then you can take the mouse and just go down. We can see his heart rate. He reached a peak heart rate of 118 beats per minute. That's the blood pressure that I entered in. And then we've got the ECGs that it'll have through it as well. So you can just go ECG print. Same thing comes up, but now we'll get the ECG as well. Once you're done, to save that, that's when we go up to the printer, hit the printer icon. To print a hard copy, of course, you'd hit OK. But then to save a copy of it, we go down and it's Microsoft Print to PDF. And then you save it by the patient's number and then the date.